The topic of this first talk is to propose an alternative design to the self-coherent camera with the goal to solve some limitation of the self-coherent camera concept. So the self-coherent camera is a common path wavefront sensor that spatially modulates the speckle, the light in the speckle, in the coronagraphic image recorded in the detector plane. So the self-coherent camera uses a permanent off-axis reference hole in the LEO stop of a coronagraph. So the reference hole is just here. It's called the reference channel, while the large opening in the LEO stop is called the pupil channel. And having these both opening in the LEO stop create some fringes in the detector plane from which it's possible to recover the electric field. And when you get access to the electric field, you can try to minimize it and create a dark hole with a deformable mirror actuation. So it's easy to understand how the self-coherent camera is spatially modulating the speckles, looking at the equation that describes the intensity in the detector plane. So if you look at this equation, you see that the intensity is the sum of the individual intensity contribution from the pupil channel, the reference channel, and the last term is the interference term that gives the fringe pattern in the image. And from this pattern, it's possible to access to the complex amplitude coming from the pupil plane. So for that, you need some post-processing activities, mainly based on the numerical Fourier transform of the science image to get access to the complex amplitude in the pupil plane. So for that, you just need to operate a numerical Fourier transform of the detector image, which is just the Fourier transform of this equation that you get here. And when you look at this equation, which corresponds to the entities that you see in this image, that's it in the Fourier domain, you see the central peak here that is described by this quantity, which corresponds to the sum of the autocorrelation of the electric field in the pupil plane and reference channel. And the two last terms here, which are formally equivalent, gives the presence of the lateral peaks here that corresponds to the correlation of the electric field in the pupil and reference channels. So when it's possible to isolate one of these lateral peaks, you can recover the electric field, because with some data post-processing activities, you can get access to the phase and amplitude part of the aberration. So this concept works well, and it led to various demonstrations on the laboratory side, where people from LESIA were able to create impressive dark hole in the science image in monochromatic light, polychromatic light, including post-EO residual as well. And more recently, they have demonstrated at the Palomar telescope that the self-coherent camera is able to compensate for the non-common path aberration with on-sky demonstration that time. So it works very well. That's the bright part of the story. And now I would like to speak about the drawback of the system. And as I told you, the main advantage, the key design aspect of the SCC is the LEO stop, to which a reference channel is added. But that's also the main drawback of the system, because the reference channel just here is highly constrained in size and in separation from the pupil channel. So if we look at the size constraint first, we usually express the gamma parameter as the ratio of the diameter in the pupil channel by the diameter of the reference channel. And when the SCC is used to correct quasi-static aberration with a deformable mirror to create a dark hole, the maximum size of the reference hole is given by this equation, where n act is the number of actuators across the pupil. And this means that the higher the actuator count in the DM, the higher the gamma parameter, and the lower the diameter in the reference hole. So it's coming back. Okay. Okay, just here. Okay, so when you increase the number of actuators in the DM, it means that the size of the reference hole is very small. So that's one point. When you use the self-coherent camera for co-phasing optics, the same problem applies, because the maximum size of the reference hole is given by this equation, where n-seg is the number of segment or rings in the primary mirror. So it means that the higher the number of segments or rings in the primary mirror, the smaller the diameter of the reference hole. So it means that one constraint of this design is the fact that the size of the reference hole is very small. Another constraint is the fact that the separation... Yeah. On the diameter, exactly. Yeah. Not the total. Yeah, sure. So the other constraint is the separation between the reference hole and the pupil channel, and it's easy to understand where the constraint comes from if you look at the OTF image here. The point is that you must avoid any overlap of the side peaks and the central one, so it imposes a given separation between the two openings here that is given by this equation. And it means that the separation between the two must be higher than 1.5 times the diameter of the pupil opening here. So it means that in this equation, the beta parameter that is just inserted here must be higher than unity. That's what the theory of the SEC dictates. So it led to a situation where the signal-to-noise ratio in the reference channel is very low, because the size of the reference channel is small, and because it's far away from the center of the pupil. And far away, it means that there is less diffracted light by the coronagraph. And in the same time, since the separation between the two is high, it means that the interfringe is very small. So it means that you have a high requirement on the sampling on the detector if you want to resolve the fringes. So that's the two main constraints of the SEC. So what are the consequences of this constraint? When operating the SEC, having a low signal-to-noise ratio in the reference imposes long-time exposure measurements. So it means that you cannot really access to short-time exposure measurements, and then you cannot work on trying to correct for fast-living atmospheric aberration. The other point is that when you want to design a self-coherent camera, you have two constraints to respect. The detector plane must be highly sampled to resolve the fringes correctly. And another constraint that is very difficult to achieve is that the downstream optics to the LEO stop must be sufficiently large to capture the reference beam. So it means that the optical beam footprint diameter must be higher than 3 times the diameter of the pupil channel. So it's a severe constraint. So there is two solutions to these problems. The first one is working on the coronographic side. Okay. So the first one is working on the coronographic side, which try to modify the focal plane mask of the coronograph to improve. Okay, good. So the first possibility is to try to improve the focal plane mask of the coronograph in order to maximize the flux that is diffracted in the reference channel. So that's the idea of the fast atmospheric self-coherent camera that has been proposed by Gerard et al. Another way is working on the pupil stop of the coronograph. That's the proposition of the fast modulated SCC, which try to make compatible the SCC with a reference channel that would be closer to the pupil channel. So if you look at this image, the red circle gives you the theoretical limit where you have to put the reference channel, that it must be at higher separation than the one given by the red circle. And the idea of the fast modulated SCC is to make possible the insertion of the reference hole at the pupil boundaries, just here. So what would be the consequences of having this possibility? If you can put the reference hole closer to the pupil channel, it means that you solve the problem of the signal-to-noise ratio in the reference channel. You make possible short-time exposure measurements in addition to long-time exposure measurements. You relax the requirement on the fringe sampling on the detector because the separation between the two is lower, which means that the interfringe is larger. And in the same time, it completely suppresses the optical design constraint of the downstream optics, which is a severe problem for the SEC. So how would that be possible? That would be possible with the fast modulated self-coherent camera. So the idea is very, very simple. Indeed, you take almost simultaneously two images with a LIO-stop, with a motorized LIO-stop, where a modulator on the reference hole close and open the reference channel at a high rate, which means that you almost simultaneously record two images, one SCC images with fringes, one SCC images without fringes. And when you apply the Fourier filtering algorithm to these two images, one of the two images won't get any lateral peak because there is no fringe in this image because there is no reference channel here. So you just get the central peak. And the second one, since you get the reference channel at this position, you get the lateral peak and the central one. There is an overlap here precisely because the reference channel is at a very close separation from the pupil channel. The beta parameter here is not higher than unity, but it's equal to 0.4, I think. So having access to these two images, it's easy to get back to recover the lateral peaks on this image and then to process as usual with the SCC. So that's the main idea, and the main advantage of this solution is the fact that the two images here are subject to the same aberration and the same noises because they have been recorded on the same detector pixels. So that's the principle of the fast modulated self-coherent camera.
Same noises, but you have a temporal.
Yeah.
It's not the same noise.
Of course, yeah, of course. I will discuss that in the conclusion. Yeah. So this is a very brief illustration of how it works with a very basic simulation with co-phasing optics, where you can see the problem with the conventional SCC when you want to try to operate the SCC with beta parameter that is lower than unity. In any situation, it's not possible to recover the phase information because there is an overlap in the Fourier domain where the side peaks are overlapped with the central one. And if you look at the fast modulated SCC, anytime for any beta parameter, it's possible to get access to the phase estimation because anytime you are able to recover the lateral peaks in the Fourier domain. And the way in closed loop operation, if you look here, a closed loop operation, it's assume a pupil, a segmented pupil with 169 segments with piston error. The way it works for any beta parameter is as efficient as the case where beta is higher than unity with the conventional SCC. So in principle, with basic simulation, it works well. So in the next months, we will test the self-coherent camera, the conventional one, and the fast modulated SCC as well on the speed bench. So the speed bench is a high contrast imaging bench developed at the Lagrange laboratory that combines co-phasing optics, wavefront shaping with dual DM correction, optimized small inner working angle coronography with an ELT simulator, so that's the pupil of the speed bench, with 169 segments in the pupil. And the visible path, which is in the green zone here in the bench, is dedicated to the co-phasing of the primary mirror. And we will have the opportunity to test and compare the conventional SCC with the fast modulated SCC for co-phasing optics. And in the near-infrared path of the bench, that is dedicated to high contrast imaging with wavefront shaping and coronography, we will do the same comparison with a conventional SCC and a fast modulated SCC, but not for co-phasing optics, but for dark hole creation in the science image. So we will be able to compare the two systems for two different applications in the same optical bench. So to conclude, the fast modulated self-coherent camera make possible to use the SCC with unauthorized beta value, which means that we can operate with a reference hole very close to the pupil boundary, where there is a maximum diffracted light by the coronagraph. And it gives various advantages. The more important one are the versatility it offers by accessing to short-time exposure measurements in addition to long-time exposure measurements. It suppresses the optical design constraint on the downstream optics for new instrument installation, and it makes easier the installation of the SCC in existing instruments, because most of the time the footprint diameter of the optical beam is not compatible with the SCC. So I said in the title that there was a paradox with the self-coherent camera fast modulated. The paradox is precisely because it adds some temporal modulation where the key point of the system was the spatial modulation. So of course it's not an ideal solution, but it's a satisfactory paradox in many situations. For instance, there is a lot of coronagraphs that are not really favorable to be compatible with the SCC, because the diffracted light at this position is most of the time very few. And another aspect is the fact that the conventional SCC is very difficult to implement in existing setups and existing instruments, precisely because the optical beam is not wide enough to capture the light from the reference hole. So that's the main advantage, and that's the reason why it's a satisfactory paradox from my point of view. Thank you.